All right. Hi, everybody. We will go ahead and get started, and then as people jump on, they can kind of just pick up where we are here. Quick introduction. So my name, Jesse Campos. I coach the O2 and the O3 girls for St. Croix. I'm also at St. Catherine University with the women's team as the head coach there. And then for the club, I work as one of the college advisors. People that can, if you have any questions or if you need help throughout the recruiting process. We have a lot of great resources within the club that can also help you. But I think today we're going to start with just talking about COVID, how it's affecting recruiting, kind of where you're at now and what you can do now, but then also just what does it look like going forward. So the few things we'll talk about, some of the recent rules that you may or may not have heard about, but I'll make sure that you guys understand them so that when you're talking to college coaches, you're aware of what's going on, okay? Some of the challenges that we as college coaches are facing right now, and that they will have an effect on you guys. But if you understand them, it's a little bit easier to navigate through them. What you can do for like ID camps and showcases, like how that's going to be impacted in the next couple of months. And then the use of video and the TraceUp equipment that we have within the club to really help you guys get through this time right now. So, and then we'll open it up at the very end for a couple of questions. So I'll go ahead and get us started. So a few things. One, you've probably heard that the Division I dead period has been extended through April 15th. Right now, this is only for Division I. So what does that mean? It means no in-person recruiting, no official campus visits. So they can't officially bring you on, kind of talk to you and show you around campus. They can't come to events right now, the Division I coaches. However, Division II, Division III, there have been no additional recruiting rule changes. So, D2, D3 coaches, they can still come out and watch you play. And that there's a ton of opportunities at D2 and D3. So I think right now, tackle some of those and then work with your club coaches to figure out, hey, is this probably the best fit for me anyways, right? So if it is, then you really haven't been too negatively impacted by some of the COVID restrictions. I do want to tell you that you should check with each individual institution. They're all going to have different limitations, right? Some schools, while the NCAA has told one school or all D2, D3, hey, there's no additional restrictions, that school might have said, right now, we don't want to do visits. We don't want to take on the risk. So right now, it's on pause. While another school could be a mile or two down the road, they might be okay having visits, but they're going to have their own rules. Maybe it's one guest, maybe they limit it, maybe it's outside only. So check in with all of them. Never assume that just because one school has told you what their restrictions are, that applies to all schools or even all the schools in that area. So check with the coach. They can all email you back. Check with the admissions offices. Sometimes they're going to be quicker about emailing you back and telling you what are their rules. Okay, so expect a lot of differences. The other thing you've probably heard is that everybody's getting this year of eligibility. They get it back. So what does that mean? Right now, everybody who's in college is going to get one more year. So the senior, they want to come back one more year, get an extra year of eligibility to play. The freshmen who just got there, who never got to play yet, they can choose to stick around at the very end for one more year. So that is really important to know because that is going to impact 2021s, 22s, 23s, because we as college coaches thought this was the plan, right? I graduate 5, I'm going to bring in 4, or I graduate 3, I bring in 3. Now players might stick around, so there might be fewer spots. So it's important to understand that because I think you're really gonna want to put in more of an effort to help get yourself recruited. Okay. The other thing, there's an impact on budget and scholarships, and I think I get into that on this slide here. So we talked about roster needs. With everyone getting the extra year, you might need less players. I might have thought I needed 7, now I need 4. So now, you really want, if that's the school you want to go to, you want to make sure you're finding a way to get evaluated now, even if it's through video, right? So find a way so you can get your answer. The other thing too is, without being able to have a season and do much, some players, they have a change of heart as to how much they love the game and they decide to quit or they decide to transfer. So, while one school might be affected where, let's say, everyone loves it, they want to come back, now there's fewer spots for future recruiting classes. Another school might realize, what, I just lost a few players because of the experience that they had this year. I don't need 5, I need 7. So, it's going to be all, don't make assumptions, right? Really ask the coaches, in communication with the coach, ask them about how has that impacted your recruiting, and they'll be honest. They'll let you know, I need less or I need more. Scholarships. If these players decide to stick around, every school is going to do this differently. So, do they have the money to keep that? Let's say, for example, I was expecting to graduate 5 seniors, and that would have freed up a lot of scholarship money. And that I was going to use that for incoming freshmen. So Division I, Division II. I might be in a really tough spot now where some of those players want to stay. So I have to honor their scholarship. Well, now I may not have much for those incoming freshmen. So maybe I take less freshmen, or I offer less money. And those are conversations you're going to have with college coaches. So I would, I think that there might be fewer scholarships available. So you might have to really think about, is this something that maybe my sophomore, junior year, I get more money, whereas my first year, because of COVID, there might not be as much available. The other piece, just budgets are going to be tighter, right? So maybe you just take fewer roster spots because you don't have to, having a team of 35 costs a lot of money. So maybe for the next year or two, a coach is only going to have, maybe it's 28 because it doesn't cost me as much to keep, 28 players, like, for the number of games and travel. Might be fewer trips that the team takes. So really ask the questions like, what if I come here? Like, what do my 4 years look like? I know that some schools like to do, for example, I like to take my team to the West Coast every couple of years to play. It's going to be tight. We're still going to try to do it. Or maybe it's an international trip. But if those are things that are important to you, some of these tighter budgets might have an impact on that. So ask some of those questions. The other piece would be for the budget, recruiting. So college coaches, some of their recruiting trips come out of their budget. If I have less money for my overall budget, I may not be able to go to, to Texas to recruit, to Virginia, to California, Arizona. So I probably have to be a little bit pickier about where I go or where I send an assistant coach. I just don't have the money to do it right now. Now, this is where some of that video is really going to help, right? So we'll kind of get to that in the end. So this is the challenge that we all face right now. Every school is going to face this. And it's good for you to be aware of it so that you can kind of understand when coaches start talking about, well, here's my roster needs and how it's changed. You have an understanding of why and where they're coming from. Couple of solutions, a lot of virtual recruiting. In the past, I would say college coaches didn't spend as much time recruiting through game film and highlights. We liked it, but I used to always think, it's good. I'll see this kid in February in Arizona, right? So I'll wait to do an evaluation then, or I'll see this player, down at the Shattuck Showcase. So I'll wait. Now you're not going to have the events, so we have to do that recruiting online. I would say roughly 70% of our time is now spent online watching game film, full film, or player highlights. So you got to make sure you're being aggressive and being a part of that 70%, because I can tell you right now, recruiting is still happening, right? It does not stop. Okay. So coaches are spending more time reviewing game film and highlights to evaluate prospects. Coaches, just because we can't have you on campus for a visit doesn't mean we can't respond to your emails, have conversations over the phone, reply via text message. So you should be, you want to try to catch their attention with the highlight video. If we like you, great. That's probably going to trigger an email conversation or texting back and forth. Fantastic. That's the best you can do right now. So keep that going, because that will keep that kind of recruiting relationship going until we're able to hit the field again, right? So right now, that's kind of your focus. We're also spending more time contacting your club coaches, your high school coaches. just if I can't see you play, to get an idea of how you compete, because I can see some skill in the video, but I really want to know more about your attitude and how hard you work. Right now, I have nothing else to do, so I'm probably going to reach out to your club coach and just ask, right? So make sure you're working closely with your club coaches as well to help you with the recruiting process. And again, it's more character and ability, right? So other piece, if you're emailing college coaches, they get a ton of emails. I know I get a lot of them. And I think the ones that always get a response, the ones I keep putting in my calendar that says, please reply to this, make sure to reply to this kid, throw it in there for Thursday at noon, right? That person needs a reply. Is because they usually left a question in there. They asked me something. So they said, hey coach, here's my game film. I'm really interested in your school, et cetera. And then they usually, maybe it's something like, I don't know, it's some sort of open-ended question where I'm going to have to sit down and reply. If I remotely like the highlight video, I probably don't want to leave somebody, leave them hanging like that. So I make sure to say, you know what, I'm going to watch that video. I'm going to text her coach. And then in about 2 days, I'm going to go ahead and just give her that reply and go, hey, I was able to watch, here are my thoughts. So it's just one of those things as a coach, I don't want to ignore those, right? So it's a good piece of advice for you as a player to end it with some sort of a question. Here's who I am, I'm really curious. What are you looking for your 2021 or 2022 class? Or gosh, I'm trying to think of some of the other ones I've been asked before. Sometimes it's a phone call, but usually that's after there's a reply, right? So it's an email exchange first, and then the next contact is likely a phone call. So it could even be open-ended, like, hey, I'm really interested in the school. I'd love to learn more about it. And, if I don't hear from you by Wednesday next week, I'll send you another email. And that's fine. That's a player who's a little more serious about it. Okay. And then a couple other tips, you're going to have to be really relentless. If there's an overall theme, I would say for this recruiting class, 21, 22, even 23, I'll tell you right now, recruiting is still happening. So if you're going to wait till April 15th, when these things get lifted or wait through the holidays till we have showcase events, you're going to be late. Right? It is still happening, and you need to take ownership over the process and go, where is it happening? How is it happening? And what do I need to do to be a part of that? So it's happening right now, video, highlights, emails, texts. Okay. So be a part of that scene. Something I heard somebody say last week, the more you recruit a school, the more they will recruit you, right? It happens, right? You can't ignore the player who's emailed you every week or every other week. Okay. You're going to give them an honest eval and then figure out, is this a player we want or don't want? So if it's once and you don't get a reply and you stop, that's not enough, right? You should email them 2, 3, 4 times. So all winter, every week is fine. And if you're using your Trace video, you're going to have a reason to contact them every time you play. Every time you play and you get a small clip, send it to them. And those are nice to get because that tells me that you are serious about getting recruited. So I should be serious about giving you an answer or my thoughts, whether we want to, keep going or pass. And then the last piece is be adaptable. So it's kind of hard to be both, I guess, right? Be relentless, get after it, get your answer. It's either going to be, we like you, we want to keep talking, or, no, thanks, it's not what we're looking for. And that's okay. And then move on to the next one. Be adaptable in terms of if it's a school you like and you want, and let's say maybe the money's not there right now, kind of going back to the things like, what if it's a register? What if it's seniors coming back that they're kind of eating up that scholarship money right now? It's a school you like and you may not have the money, then maybe you take less. And then the following year you get more, right? So it may not be perfect, but if it checks a lot of your boxes, this might be the year to say, hey, I might take this one. Or let's say you can't just get looked at, but the best thing they're willing to offer you is a walk-on spot. Take it, all right? If you're, if really the only hurdle is like, because of all this, they haven't been able to fully evaluate you, but they're willing to offer you a walk-on and take a look then I would take it, prepare. And then once you get that moment, right, now you've locked it in, right? And then it kind of grows from there. So sometimes you're just going to have to be adaptable because of everything that's going on right now, right? So those are kind of my 2 cents there with how we're going to get through that. So a couple other comments with showcases and ID camps. D2 and D3, completely allowed to have them. What you're going to notice is the NCAA says we can have them, but like my school, we're not having one right now. We don't want to have too many visitors on campus. Some of the D2 schools, same way. It's the rule says you can, but the school says not right now. So you're going to have to keep in touch with the school, keep checking their websites. One thing I have is follow their social media. I can tell you one of the fastest ways you're going to find out if they have a camp is by following the school's Twitter or Instagram account. And they're going to post on there that they're going to have a camp. Okay. If I hear of anything, we'll let your coaches know. They can pass them along. So I would connect, and it's going to say right now, and then next week their school, new data comes out regarding COVID, or they feel more comfortable allowing it, and then all of a sudden it'll change. So, again, whatever answers you get, it's more of a not right now, right? So the scenario is very fluid. Couple of things that you're gonna notice too if they cannot host a camp, like I said, they're still recruiting, right? And camps and showcases are great to watch kids play. So if my school won't let me host a camp, I may still be allowed to go to someone else's, and you're going to find that happens a lot too. I'll give you an example, like D2 in this area. I know CSP is doing a camp end of this month, and I know that a couple other coaches from the same conference, they're all colleagues, right? They get along with each other. They're going to invite each other to come out. So maybe Bemidji or St. Cloud can't host one on their campus, but they're going to come down to Steve's at St. Paul. So you're going to be in front of the same coaches. So take advantage of those opportunities. Many of those programs or those camps are going to list who's coming, so you can find out there. And I know Steve's camp, he invites a lot of the D3 schools as well. So I know we'll be there. So that's one way. If I can't host a camp, I'm going to go to a colleague of mine who is. I'm going to see if I can go work that camp or just volunteer there, and I'm going to be able to watch you play. The other one is I'm going to maybe really think about what clubs are hosting clinics or camps. I know St. Croix, we are hosting a few. I'm going to work with, they're going to work with like Joe, myself, Nate, Joaquin, and we're going to try to get them at ours. And then now they can work with you. So just because they don't host it, they'll just come to ours, a local club event. The other little bit of information too, kind of going back to relying on the clubs to host ID events. If I can't get to the big showcases because maybe my school says, hey, we don't want you traveling to Southern California to watch kids play because as an institution, we just don't want our coaches doing that. They might say, but you know what, you can do everything in the state or our neighboring state. So now all of a sudden it's more important for me to get to things like the MLK showcase event in January, right? Or let's say it's a weekend, we're having 11v11 games against another club. Okay, I can go check those out, right? So my school may have said I can't be traveling outside of the Midwest, but I am allowed to do local things. And you're going to find a lot of that with a lot of our local coaches. So right now, take advantage of that, okay? They aren't flying out to go watch kids play at other events throughout the country, but they're going to be willing to go 10, 15 miles within the state to watch you play at an event here. So that's one thing I would really think about. The one other piece about clinics and camps. So in the winter, we'll do the club ones and I'll give you the dates, okay? And you should invite coaches to those. If there is an ID piece, you should sign up for that as well, because we'll have Division II and Division III coaches there to work with you. For the spring, it's going to be a challenge this year because colleges are also in season. So college coaches have to pretty much pick, are we going to really focus on our in-season, our team right now? Or how often are we going to be able to get out to events in the spring? They're going to overlap. So you're going to find I think we're going to go to more of the local ones if we can. What I would suggest and what we're going to do for St. Croix, film your games, right? We have the Trace system, film every time you get to play. And if they can't watch you play because they are in their own season, just send them an update, right? So if you invite them and they say, we'd love to make it, but we're stuck, we have our own game, just reply, it's okay, I'll send you highlights on Monday. After the weekend, I'll clip something and I will make sure you get it, okay? So that's just one way to get through that hurdle. If they're allowed to host an ID camp, go to it, right? If you can't get them to come to you, go to them, okay? And then here are the two local winter ID events. You might want to write these dates down. So I know 12/21, this is that the CSP is doing a quick ID camp. 12/20 Oh, sorry, that's the dates wrong. 12/29 and 12/30. I'll fix that. One day is for the boys and one day is for the girls at St. Croix. And we will have our own little ID clinic. Okay. So as soon as COVID restrictions are lifted and we're able to do that, that's the next event for you. Yeah, see, I did get them. At least I got them right here on this side. So the 29th is the boys, 30th is the girls, 8v8, 9v9 games. They will be live streamed. We'll have them recorded. That's going to be a really useful tool. That's one of your earliest ones. Okay. January 13th through 15th, there's a showcase. We'll invite the coaches out to, and then you'll have the ID event. Okay. And then February, we'll do another one at similar format, showcase ID event. So you're going to get plenty of opportunity. All right. It's not going to stop. It just looks different. Okay. TraceUp game filming for all of them. If you have a winter in-house scrimmage, we're going to film it. Right. So for example, if my 02s scrimmage against Joe's 04s at a practice on a Sunday night, we're going to film it. And that gives you more opportunities to pull clips and then send it on a random Monday. Hey, we got together to play this weekend, coach. Here's a few updates from my practice in-house game. All right. Every 11v11 scrimmage, league game, and showcase, we're going to film it. Okay. So we're going to try to give you as much content as possible. Now it's on you. What do you do with that? Right. Use the information, tear that film apart. And every time you do that, it's another reason to send an email. Video and TraceUp. So how to use the video to find stuff. What I want you guys to do is you want to use video to highlight like certain characteristics about you. What are your strengths as a player, an athlete, and position specific? What do I mean by that? So I guess I look at it as a player, things like skill, controlling the ball. As an athlete, do you have raw speed? If you are fast, then you need to include clips that show your raw athletic ability. If you are just, a absolute physical beast in the air, I want to see clips of you just dominating corner kicks, getting up there, right? If you put in strong tackles, then highlight that. So your athletic ability is very, very important, but then so are your skills on the ball, right? Position specific. If you're a wide striker, you need to have 1v1 moments, right? If you're a forward, your clips, they better show you scoring some goals, right? If you're a center back, then I really need to see you dominating the space in and around the box in the air, because I just need to know a center back can do that. So if you're a center mid, then we need to see link up play. Can you connect the lines? Can you receive on the half turn so we can play through you? So you got to make sure you're covering all three of those and work with your club coach to say, here's what I think my strengths are. What do you think? What should I be pulling out of video clips? All right. So when you look at video clips, what does this highlight? Is it my strength? Okay. Send game film player highlights weekly or bi-weekly. If we're going to film a lot, you should have enough content to send a weekly or an every other week email to the coaches you're trying to get an evaluation from of more information. Okay. This is a fun one. Something that somebody kind of recommended here was on social media. Okay. We all have them. Right now, if anybody who follows our like St. Kate's soccer account, usually I do follow back just to who are they as a player. And sometimes they're like recruits that we're looking at. Okay. So your social media, if you score some pretty cool goals on Sunday when you scrimmage and you're doing your video and there's just, 30 seconds, screen record it. And it's a 30-second clip. Put it on your Twitter, your Instagram, or your Facebook. I don't know if you guys use Facebook anymore. I think that's more for like old people like me. Put it on your Twitter and Instagram, okay? That way when the college program starts swiping through, all of a sudden it just plays instantly. And now I just saw like, oh, wow, that was pretty cool. Hey, I know that recruit. She's emailed me a couple of times, okay? It really does help. I don't have to click anything. So if you can do that bi-weekly, that'd be great. Update, just put a couple little highlights of yourself on your social media. Once you get enough content on your trace and you have enough game film and enough highlights, you're going to want to share that with the coach. So maybe it's your third or fourth email of different updates. Hey coach, I'm going to keep updating this, and you can check it out whenever you want. Here's my trace ID, send it, attach it. I'll update it with more information about me. And then the good question, I'm really interested in your program. I'm going to keep clipping stuff. Is there anything that you want to see that you think is important and valuable for a wide back that I can clip and show you type of thing. So that means a lot because, for me, I would have replied with, yeah, I want to see a wide back in the final third. I want to see you getting into the final third and helping contribute to the attack. Perfect. Go see if you can pull that out of a clip. All right. So ask the question, and that will usually get you a response. And then share that trace ID. That tells me you are a very committed recruit, right? You're taking the process very seriously and you're putting in a lot of work. And those are the recruits, those are players we want. What you can do right now, probably the most important slide for today, okay? Write them down. Your player, athlete, and position-specific strengths. Okay, work with your coach. Just send your club coach an email and, what are my strengths that I should highlight and focus on, okay? You're probably gonna have one-on-one meetings during this time. Figure out what those are, write them down. Put it on a Post-it by your laptop where you're gonna cut film so you know what to look for. Your next step, you're gonna review whatever game film you have, okay? And you are going to look for your strengths in those clips. And if it's not there, okay, then you're gonna wanna make a mental note of that and then go make sure it shows up in the next clip or in the next game, the next moment that you get to play and have it filmed, all right? Because you're gonna need to pull these strengths out. Social media, I want you to, what schools are you interested in? Find them on social media and follow their programs, okay? Because if there's any updates that occur with COVID, with camps, with showcases, they're gonna put it on there. And that's gonna be one of the faster ways for you to find out, okay? They might follow you back. So please make sure your social media, represents you well, all right? So if you gotta clean it up, go for it, all right? Social media, I think if you're going through film and you have games, even if it's one highlight moment, I would say up to 30 seconds, try to turn it into one of those posts that just plays on its own, okay, through Twitter and Instagram. That way you get some practice at it. And maybe it's just like, going through film, found a cool moment, post it. Because now if coaches are following you, they're gonna see that. And then the last one, if you have enough, then you can share your trace ID. If you don't have enough, then wait until, you've done a lot of this first, okay? Because we wanna see some content. The last piece, couple of, Casey for the boys, Joe and myself, and we all have different levels of experience where we can help you. Please reach out to us. Like the three of us I have listed here with our emails, our cell numbers. Obviously you have Joaquin, you have Nate. I don't know if Michael's on this call, but he was at College for a little bit. He's at Concordia St. Paul now. So he has, some more experience where he can also help you. We want to help. Okay. So the biggest goal is we're going to help inform you. We're also going to, help guide you a little bit. This is where I think you should be looking. But at the end of the day, you have to do the work, right? You have to clip the film right now. We can't do that necessarily for you. So you have to put in that work and get yourself evaluated and recruited, all right? Once you start all of that, then it's a lot easier for us to say, okay, maybe they haven't replied for a few emails. Let me see if I can nudge that process along. I'll shoot them a quick message, okay? So you get it started, you do the work, and we are here to support you through all of it. With that being said, I do want to open it up. If there's any other coach, if you guys want to chime in with your thoughts, or players, if you have a question, now is the time to go ahead and ask. I can go back to a different slide if you need to see it. Just let me know. So I'll pause for a minute here. Go for it.
All right, while everybody's being shy, I'll chime in on first of all, two things. One, if you've not taken notes, because Jesse's just given you a ton of outstanding information. If you've not done that, then when you get the email of the recording, I would sit through this again and I would jot down some notes, because there's a lot in here that can help you, because as Jesse wrapped up with, this is your process. So if you don't get recruited or don't end up at a school to play soccer, then you have to look at least 80% of that being on you, because you have to do the work. So go back and watch this again if you've not taken notes. The one thing I'll say about communication, and my experience is at the D1 level, and I don't have any D2 or D3 experience, so it might be different, but I would say that coaches can ignore your emails, and I would say they're for one of two reasons. The first is that college soccer is your dream and you really want to get there. But the reality of it is that some coaches just aren't very good at their jobs, or at least good at the recruiting part. So you can reach out and reach out and reach out and never hear anything back. And that might be just because they're not great at communicating. So that might be a signal to you that if they're not great at communicating when you're a prospect, then maybe they're not great communicating with their team either. So that could be something that could be a red flag for you. Second of all, Casey mentioned this yesterday when we were chatting, you may not be communicating with the right person. If you're only emailing the head coach, then they might not be in charge of recruiting, and they might not be great at delegating those emails to their assistants who are dealing more with the recruiting on a day-to-day basis. So you can email the head coach, but CC, or carbon copy the assistant coaches, all the assistant coaches, because you don't know necessarily who's handling what. Only address the email to the head coach. Don't necessarily address it to all the coaches, but definitely copy all the coaches. And then the last thing I would say is find a way to be compelling. 2 examples. I remember a kid, I don't remember her name. She emailed every week, and her email was a form email every week. Same email or a variation of it. Same email every week. Boring. I ignored her. And I just remember her because she was one of the most persistent emailers ever, but she was also one of the most boring emailers ever. Another player who we did this last spring, so if you were on these, Coach Callie M. Ogler, the player I recruited when I was in Indiana. We didn't get many players from Minnesota who were interested in going to Indiana. And the fact that she was from Minnesota was compelling, and her story about why she was interested in a school in Indiana drew my interest, made me contact Joaquin, and from there we started recruiting her, and that's where she ended up going to school. So be compelling. All right, if you're emailing a school in a state that's kind of far away, why are you emailing that school? Not just you're interested in their school, of course you are in some regard, but have a reason why. So just be compelling in your communication. The same thing with the social media. If you're just different, right now I know you're spending a lot of screen time, but I bet some of that screen time's on Netflix. So maybe go on YouTube, or if you have Watch ESPN, there's tons of college games archived on there. So watch one of the schools that you like and are interested in, and watch their game a little bit. And include that in, hey, I was watching your conference final game, against this school, and I noticed something about, the way you play. Like I noticed the formation you used, or, Jesse said your fullbacks really get into the attack. Is that something, that's a big priority for you, or is that just, the players you had in the class? So just show some sort of interest in the program. So those are my thoughts on it. But definitely watch this again, because Jesse's packed this full of information for you.
Well, thank you, Joe. Appreciate that. And Joe mentioned about standing out. Some of the ones that always stand out to me are when they've connected the academic piece and they've said, I'm interested in your school because X, Y, Z. I see you have a lot of, I want to do nursing, and it's well known for that. And I noticed on your roster, you have, 15 nursing students, and, it's the balance I'm looking for. Can we talk more about that? That's awesome. That's a question I'm going to reply. It's also, you did some research that just tells me it was more than a form or a quick email. So try to, try to throw some of that in. That's always appreciated. Anytime we see that there was extra effort involved, we're going to move it to the top of the list. Like my calendar is literally tomorrow. It's follow up with these players, 5 names. Well, those are the ones that had a very detailed email that I think that it's more than just a quick, I'm not one of, 25 emails. At least I don't think so. I'll find out tomorrow with some of them. We'll see. So if there's any other questions you guys have, chime in, let me know. There's no bad question. It might help the entire group.
Good. I know everybody gets kind of a little shy with this. Jesse and Joe, thanks for everything. I know we'll get the recording out to your coach, and then he or she can put it on your Team Snap or send it off to you directly. We'll also send you the document too, so you can kind of go over some stuff. And then again, if you have questions, again, Jesse, Joe, Joaquin, Casey, myself, other coaches that have had maybe some history with it. Talk to your own coach. I think is it also maybe something that's a little bit easy right away for you to do. And if you're not quite comfortable with anybody. But as the guys have said, you need to start to look at it, and it is a good time to do it now. Yes, Division I's not doing what they need to be doing, but people are still looking. And so we want to get that situated. And as we keep moving forward, we'll keep doing more showcases locally for you guys to be seen. And I think that's the biggest thing. And so any kind of help you need, please understand that your coach and everybody else wants to help you. Okay. Good. If there's no other questions, I guess we're good to go. And again, thanks for everybody for jumping on, and we will see you probably in a couple weeks for some of us.
Awesome. Thank you very much. If you have a question, you can also email. I'm replying to some within the group chat, so I will be last to log off while I
Thank
write
you,
this one.
coaches.
But thanks everybody. I'll give you guys more information next time we meet.